Hi, today is Thursday, January 8th, 2026. We're going to read another article for the day to start off the day. Uh, this one is from, I don't know, from Facebook Education Data Initiative. My daughter wants to go to Australia to study in college. Uh, she went to the UK for her foundation course. She passed it, but she didn't go to the business school. Uh, instead, now she wants to go to the Australian school. She just goofed around at home, and now she wants to study again. So let's find out the college costs around the world. This article is from the Education Data Initiative, and the title is Average Cost of College by Country, last updated 1 year ago by Melanie Hansen. Fact-checked, cite this webpage. Report highlights. American universities are the most expensive in the world. U.S. public education costs more per college student than any other country except Luxembourg. Luxembourg, expensive? The cost to students for an American bachelor's degree is more than anywhere else in the world. The average public university charged undergraduates $9,596 for tuition alone in 2022 and 2023. Lithuania. I would like to visit the country. Lithuania has the most expensive public master's programs worldwide, charging an average tuition of $13,234 for 2022 and 23. U.S. master's programs are the second most expensive worldwide. Public universities charged students $12,956 in 2023 to 23 tuition. So tuition, right? It said tuition. Intuitive tuition. Tuition and fees. Well, I was just massaging my eyes. Among the 2 in 3 U.S. college students who have some form of debt at graduation, 78.8% owe federal student loan debt. 58.8% of surveyed countries charge international students more than nationals for master's degree programs. Except where otherwise noted, this report converts local currency to equivalent American dollars based on purchasing power. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development has 38 member countries and 8 that are candidates for membership. Countries with the most expensive average public college tuition, average cost of annual tuition for bachelor's programs in 2023 USD, United States $9,596, Japan $5,645, Canada $5,590, Lithuania $5,450, Korea $5,171, Australia $5,108, New Zealand $4,748, Israel $3,088, Netherlands $3,041, Italy $2,570. Education Data Initiative source: Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Average cost of college in Australia. Student loan debt is common among college graduates in Australia, likely because the cost of education is among the world's highest. College students in Australia pay $5,108 for 1 year of tuition in average public bachelor's program. For a master's program, Australian college students pay an average of $9,496 per year. To attend independent or private universities, Australians pay an average annual tuition of $10,970 for bachelor's programs and $16,075 for masters. International students pay $22,359 a year to pursue a bachelor's degree at a public institution in Australia. Private institutions charge $8,580 to international students. Students in Australia graduate with an average debt of $19,820. 82% of college students in Australia graduate with a student loan debt. For every full-time equivalent student, Australia's government spends $24,837 on post-secondary education, including research and development programs. Excluding academic research funding, the Australian government spends $17,094 per full-time student. Australia's government spent the equivalent of 6.1% of its GDP on education in 2020. Okay. Countries with the most expensive average college education annual expenditure per full-time equivalent student in 2021 USD: Luxembourg, $60,264, United States $36,274, United Kingdom $33,574, Sweden $27,765, Denmark $26,781, Norway $26,299, Australia $24,837, Canada $24,406, Australia $24,206, Netherlands $23,864, Hungary $23,591. Education Data Initiative Source: Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Average cost of college in Brazil. Under the Program for Partner Undergraduate Students, PECG, students from American, African, Latin American, or Caribbean countries can enter Brazilian universities with a certificate of proficiency in Portuguese. Okay. Brazil's government spends $13,569 per full-time equivalent student, right? FE, full-time equivalent, FTE, full-time equivalent student on public post-secondary education. Public post-secondary education, right? Per full-time equivalent. We should remember that expression because we sometimes encounter these this one. Full-time equivalent, right? Full-time equivalent. As a share of total government expenditure, Brazil's post-secondary education spending totals 2.4%. Excluding academic research funding, Brazil's government spends 2.1% of its budget on education. Brazil spent the equivalent of 6% of its GDP on all education programs in 2020. Not bad. Countries with the most expensive average public graduate tuition. Average cost of annual tuition for master's programs in 2023 USD. Lithuania, $13,234. United States, $12,596. Canada, $9,564. Australia, $9,496. Korea, $6,680. My country, right? Korea. New Zealand, $6,124. Japan, $5,647. Israel, $4,174. Netherlands, $3,041. Italy, $2,864. Education Data Initiative Source, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Average cost of college in Canada, right? I like Canada. I've been there once, but I like the country because clean, but mostly people are friendlier, kinder than the United States people, right? U.S. citizens. Student loan debt among college graduates is common, and the cost of college is relatively high compared to other developed countries. College students in Canada pay $5,590 for 1 year of tuition in average public bachelor's program. For a master's program, Canadian college students pay an average of $9,564 per year. International students pay $30,697 per year to pursue a bachelor's degree at a public institution in Canada. Master's programs cost $20,876 per year. Students in Canada graduate with an average debt of $17,874. 62% of college students in Canada graduate with a student loan debt. For every full-time equivalent student, Canada's government spends $24,406 on post-secondary education, including research and development programs for bachelor's, master's, and doctoral or equivalent programs. Canada's government spends $27,596 per full-time student. Canada spent the equivalent of 5.2% of its GDP on all education programs in 2020. Interesting. They spend a lot of money in Canada, man. Here, international students pay $30,697 per year to pursue a bachelor's degree at a public institution in Canada. Countries with the largest government expenditure on public college education. Average expenditure per full-time equivalent student in 2021 USD. Luxembourg, $55,028. Switzerland, $33,126, Norway, $27,616, Finland, $27,128, Austria, $25,226, Sweden, $24,886, Belgium, $23,106, Denmark, $22,444, Germany, $21,019, Netherlands, $19,019. Education Data Initiative Source, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Average cost of college in Croatia. College costs, I don't know why suddenly Croatia, but let's find out. College costs in Croatia are relatively low, and government funding makes public education inexpensive for families. College students in Croatia pay $1,660 for 1 year of tuition in an average public bachelor's program. That's quite low, man. I spend personally, I spend more than $2,000 on a monthly basis, right? But $1,660 for entire academic year, that's bullshit. That's nothing. For a master's program, Croatian college students pay an average of $1,657 per year. Croatia's government spends $8,598 per full-time equivalent student on public post-secondary education and $752 per student on private post-secondary education. Croatian households spend $1,573 per full-time equivalent student on public post-secondary education. Croatian government pays for 76% of public post-secondary education costs and 11% of private post-secondary costs. Croatian households cover 14% of public college costs and 78% of private education costs. Excluding academic research funding, Croatia's government spends 2.1% of its budget on education. Croatia spent the equivalent of 5.5% of its GDP on all education programs in 2020. Countries with the largest household expenditure on public college education, average expenditure per full-time equivalent student in 2021, Australia, $13,265. Damn, my daughter is trying to go to Australia, and it's the highest in the household expenditure, man. I should pay a lot of money. United States, $10,053. Canada, $6,525. New Zealand, $5,294. Chile, $5,232. Ireland, $3,905. Italy, $3,736. Korea, my country, $3,505. Netherlands, $2,585. Spain, $2,507. Education Data Initiative Source are an organization for economic cooperation and development. I'll skip the Denmark, Finland, France. Yeah, I'm interested in France, right? While the French government subsidizes public higher education for all EU/EEA citizens usually receive more in subsidies than non-citizens apart from public specific groups such as long-term residents and refugees. For EU EAA citizens, tuition for the 2024 and 25 academic year is 175 euros, equivalent to, you fucking kidding me? $182.10 USD at the end of 2024 for a licensed bachelor's program. Master's students pay 250 euros. That's bullshit. That's like a one hotel night stay, right? For non-citizens, a smaller share of education costs are subsidized. Tuition for 2024-25 is 2,850 euros, equivalent to 2,966 USD at the end of 2024 at the license level, bachelor's level, and 3,878 euros at the master's level. Private tuitions in France generally charge between 6,000 euros and 18,000 euros, equivalent to 8,244 and 18,730 USD. The French government spent the equivalent of 5.5% of its gross domestic product GDP on education in 2020. Interesting. That's interesting. Well, from this article, we understood that Australia's education expenditure is quite high, including tuition and fees and the money, transportation, lunch money, or foods, accessories, textbooks, notebooks, bags, and the dating prom nights, maybe, I don't know, travel, or laptop, and so on. Australia is quite an expensive country. Thanks for listening, and have a great Thursday. Bye-bye. But what kind of message did I get? Yeah, I have some stocks with media security. These battery company, their stock prices increased by 2.64% today. Thanks for listening. Have a great stock day.